Well, I'm Reed Nevins. I'm the Mississippi State University Extension Environmental Science Specialist in 4-H. And today we'll be discussing the Mississippi 4-H Wildlife Art and Photography Contest. And I have with me Mr. Ben Rosenkrans. He's a family friend from West Point, Mississippi, and he has taken taken pictures and done photography and wildlife art and wildlife photography for many years. I appreciate him coming, and we've asked him to come and discuss some of his, give everybody some tips and ideas and things to help with this contest that we've started here in the past year. So, all right, Mr. Ben, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, y'all make me feel old for a long time. I think I bought my first camera. It was a small digital, 1969. And I've gone through a lot of cameras and taken a lot of pictures. It's just been a hobby. Well, let me take that back. For about 3 years, I actually made my living with my art and my photography. So I decided that's just a hard way to live, but
yeah,
it was good to me.
You enjoy it, though.
I just have a ball with it. I really do.
Good deal. Well, let's just talk a little bit about some of the cameras and give us some tips on some of.
It is amazing what these little cell phones can do photography-wise, and I don't think any of us go anywhere without one of them on their belt or in their pocket. And they just play with them. I'm shooting wildflowers right now. They're starting to emerge, and I'm just enjoying doing that. This is probably the opposite spectrum. I've got a large telephoto lens here. It's almost too heavy to carry around, but it reaches out about equivalent to good powerful pair of binoculars.
Yeah.
And I'm shooting digital, so I can manipulate that on the computer if I need to. I prefer not to, but sometimes it does improve things.
Yeah.
So there's everything in between these two things right here. Some of these little pocket digital cameras are amazing.
GoPro, I guess.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. So this might be what the majority of the kids are going to be using.
I would imagine so. And I'm sure most of them, 99%, wouldn't have anything like what you have right here, but some of them would have a standard digital camera, you know. And that's.
I used to go up to the wildlife battlefield in Tennessee, just outside of Corinth, and I'm almost embarrassed this lens is so small compared to some of those others. I mean, good gracious, we see folks up there with cameras like this. So mommy and daddy, uncle, aunts, somebody in the family might have some of their joy and have access to it. I think the main thing to do with cameras, regardless of what it is just get familiar with them. Find out what they'll do. Some of them are real good in low light conditions. Some of them are not. If you understand the capabilities of your equipment, that's a big part of it. Hey, we do that when we hunt, don't we?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Need to know your gear before you go out. So this is just like hunting. I know we have a lot of these kids that participate in this, or they're outdoor type kids, and they're familiar with that. So we definitely need to be familiar with your equipment. So.
And just like my equipment, if I were hunting, I used to hunt. I don't anymore. I do all my hunting with a camera, but I maintain, clean. Make sure it's in top working order. Have extra batteries on hand. If you're in a deer stand and you've been sitting there an hour and your battery goes dead, guess what?
You're out of the game.
You're
right?
out of the game. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what this whole, and I should have mentioned that I guess at first, this entire competition or contest here is to get kids in the outdoors to go out and enjoy nature, see the beautification, capture that moment. You never know what you're going to get out
that's
there.
Fantastic.
So I'm sure you've been at.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. I think the biggest thing you've got to do if you're going to do wildlife photography, it's the same thing you're hunting. Where are the deer running? Where are whatever the animal is? What are their habits? What times of day do they come out? And just like you're hunting deer with a rifle, a lot of that translates to photography.
Yeah.
If I don't know my prey or my target, I'm probably not going to come home with a very good result.
So you need to try to find an area where whatever your target species or a kind of a high game area, or you want to get in those areas where they frequent pretty regularly.
I go out and scout just like you would on a hunt for any other game animal.
Yeah.
And usually that pays off.
So what do you do as far as give some tips on, maybe you brush in, do you get up inside of a bush, do you have a blind you get in sometimes?
I don't. I've got a friend of mine that does this, and she loves to wear camouflage.
Yeah.
I've never messed with camouflage. I think the biggest thing is just patience. It's amazing if you'll just go out and sit down, set your equipment up, be very quiet and very still. I've literally had some of these birds of prey almost land on my shoulder. So, patience.
Going back to patience.
Yeah.
You got to have patience. I can see that. All right. Well, let's jump in here and talk about some of the different, I guess, we'll talk about birds. And this is one of your pictures here. So tell us a little bit about
Well, I'm
picture.
fascinated with birds. That's probably my favorite thing to photograph. And I think sometimes we talk ourselves into, if I'm going to get wildlife photography, I've got to get out in the backwoods in the middle of nowhere. Think about what you've got in your backyard. I've got a crepe myrtle tree with 4 feeders in it, and I've been logging species of birds that those feeders attract. And in the last 3 years, I've attracted over 90 species, including some of these big hawks. So what's available to you right off the patio is, if you get used to it, if you get patient enough to just sit there, and if you kind of observe and inventory, there's an amazing selection.
Mm-hmm. So this is a cardinal right here.
Cardinal, we've got plenty of those. They're here year-round. That's the male, of course. The male bird is always going to be the flashy bird. The female, protecting the nest, a little
Kind of
less so.
looking, yeah. Okay. Well, let's look at. There's another one here of a hummingbird.
Yeah, that's
So
the
tell us a little
male
bit about-
ruby-throated hummingbird. They're on their way to us. We should see those things begin to arrive here, coming from the south. They come from South America, and every fall they go back to South America. So if you got hummingbird feeders, we're not far away from getting those things cleaned up and filled up and hung.
And we're filming this here in mid-March. So,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have seen other types of hummingbirds. I've got pictures of rufous hummingbirds. Those are very unusual for Mississippi. Those are about the only 2 species of hummingbirds we have in the state.
Yeah.
But these guys get real numerous about midsummer.
So you can get these birds and numerous other ones right here in your backyard. So tell us about eagles. I know you've done a lot of photography with the eagles
I
down at the
have.
Knockley Refuge and different other places over
Several
the years.
places. We're having them right here in our local area. Had somebody told me 10 years ago I would have 8 active bald eagle nests within 20 miles of my house, I would have laughed. I've found that many. They love the Tin-Tom waterway. These 2 are singing to one another. I've observed a lot of eagles, but I've never experienced eagles singing to one another. I've heard them cry, make harsh noises, but this is very melodious. Right time, right place. Sometimes you can sit all day long and something like this is not going to materialize, so it's just a matter of luck.
Yeah.
I took that out of the front seat of my pickup truck. Now that's that long lens coming into play because they were probably 150 yards away.
Yeah.
And then I can blow that up a little bit on the computer if I need to.
Yeah.
So that's the marvelous thing about digital. We aren't just limited to what the camera can do. It's the camera plus the computer.
That's right. But these are becoming more frequent
They're
across the
coming
state
back.
of Mississippi
Yes,
for sure.
they are.
'Cause
They're
I've
making
seen
a
'em
comeback.
the last few years more and more around. But so what about this one?
This
hawk right
is
here.
the red-tailed hawk. They show up about mid-October, and they're starting to leave us now. They're going north. They're going up to the Great Lakes area. But very common bird. That's one of the biggest hawks. Now, I've had hawks come into my back patio. They're hunting smaller birds. Sharp-shinned hawk, it's probably a third the size of this one. And that's one of the most challenging things to photograph because they're not going to sit still and pose for you.
Yeah.
That's going to require a little bit of a just like hunting with a skeet or a shotgun. You
Gotta be pretty quick.
the
man, to
delay
get
is
'em.
gone. Yeah.
They don't hang around.
They don't
like
hang
some of these
around.
songbirds. Okay. And this is one you was telling us about earlier. So
That's
tell us
the one
about-
at 10 Patience. That was taken down on the Noxubee Wildlife Refuge. That's the pileated woodpecker. They're not coming back. Their population seemed to be fairly stable. I saw that nest hole, and it was larger than another woodpecker, and I suspected they might be in there. I set up my camera about 7 a.m., and I think I left the site a little after 2 p.m. I was surprised I could get off that little camp stool. I just almost cramped.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. It was worth it. So that's an example of just no camouflage, no blind, just be still.
Be still and patience.
Be patient.
Yep. And try to be opportunistic, I guess, too there. You saw that
Absolutely.
hole and...
Well, those little ones stuck their heads out, and I said, oh, Mom and Daddy will come back and feed
That's right.
you, and they came in about every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You set your watch by it.
So, all right. So let's talk about some of the, so this contest is all about any live, wild animal here in the state. So, of course, we've got numerous land mammals here. So, deer, turkeys, squirrels, rabbits, and any picture, all that's fair game in this contest, but this is one you did.
This is one of those where patience has nothing to do with it. This is just a matter of luck, right time, right place.
Yep.
And this is kind of a spring shot. I think I took this somewhere up in Tennessee, and I've had several very much like it down here. And again, just get out and scout it out, see where the deer are moving, see where the tracks are, understand their habitat, understand what time of day they're likely to appear. I found about an hour before dark is about the best time.
Yeah.
Early morning is also good. Midday, not so much.
So with white-tailed deer, wild turkeys, say squirrels, I'll say they're very abundant in this state.
Yes.
But turkeys, any tips on turkeys, taking pictures of turkeys? We don't have a picture of one here. But
They're difficult to photograph. They're difficult to hunt. First time I got a decent picture of a turkey, I went with a friend of mine who was hunting. We did wear camouflage, and I took pictures, and he said, are you finished? I said, yeah, and he shot the turkey.
yeah,
So, goes hand in hand, same thing.
you probably have to cam up a little bit for that one, though.
Just
don't you?
about,
I mean,
yeah.
They're
They're
eyesight
very wary.
is extremely keen. So I'm a turkey hunter. So
Yeah, anybody that can outsmart a turkey, my hat goes off to.
Yeah.
They're challenged.
Very challenging. So you like to, I guess, brush in or get in a blind,
Yeah.
and in those areas where they're scratching or where they're frequenting.
Sometimes you look up, there are 2 or 3 places south of Kosciuszko on the Natchez Trace where turkeys are really known to be in large numbers. And if the traffic is very light, you've got a place to pull off, you might look up and get some.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of turkey pictures that were taken out of the front seat of my car.
Yeah. Here's another one you brought there, and there's a fawn.
Yeah, I like to get those guys. We're a little late for those spots. It's kind of a February, early March type thing, but that's up at Shallow Military Park again. That's administered by the U.S. Park Service, and I think these deer have an inclination to realize this is a safe area. So
Yeah.
I've had some of them come over. If I had an apple, I think they'd take it out of my hand, just leaning out the window.
Used to
They're
people,
used to
then,
people.
in other
Used
words.
to
So you could
people.
even, I guess, go to some of those type places along the, I guess, the trace or
The refuge, the trace.
refuge.
We've got some state parks in the state that are not that distant from us that have got some excellent wildlife.
Yeah.
And of course, the refuge is known for its alligators.
Oh yeah.
So that's always a fun thing to photograph.
Oh yeah. So I guess I need to mention this. So this would be a good quality non-action. So we have 3 categories with this contest. It's action, non-action, and human interest. So I would assume, I'd say that would be a non-action.
That would probably be the non-action.
And then maybe this would, you could even do that, action.
Yeah, if we were videoing that, it'd be amazing how those things don't make circles and back off and rebut with those antlers.
You can tell that they're engaged in action in the photo. And this would be, I would say, a human interest, something that's, the woodpecker there that he talked about a minute ago.
I have found those in several locations in the state. The Plymouth Bluff Environmental Center over here, just this side of the river from Columbus, has got a slough on the hiking trail. A lot of dead cypress in there, and these things are pretty numerous in there.
Yeah.
So that's not just the refuge, but several other places.
Well, those are good examples right there. All right, so let's switch gears real quick. We've got the art categories, and basically we have numerous categories here, that from pen to pencils to watercolor to acrylics, to the 3D sculpture, to the mixed altered media. That's where you would take a picture, put it on the computer, and alter it, I guess, there in different ways.
A lot can be done with that.
Let's tell you a little bit of your artwork. So I know you're very, very talented, and we'll just discuss them, I guess, as we go.
Yeah,
here.
well,
so this is one that you.
My first love is pen and ink, and I did that for years and years and years. Unfortunately, I had a stroke a few years ago that really took my vision on the left side. I can't see well enough to get back to that. And that moved me over to watercolors, which is very loose, total opposite of the tightness of that pen and ink.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of transitioned to the watercolors.
So this is pen and ink right here.
This is pen and ink.
So
no color attached to it whatsoever. It's just black and white. I shouldn't tell this, but actually that was taken at the vet school. It was one of the hawks they were rehabilitating, and it was sitting on the back of a chair when I photographed it. Now, when I draw it, I can have it sit on anything I want to.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
So don't rule out some of these vet offices and some other things. They
Hey, that's
might
good.
run
That's a
into some
good
pretty
tip.
interesting stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So here's another hawk that you did. So what is this drawing? Is that
That's the red tail. Now, that's a combination of pen and ink, and I have overlaid it with watercolor.
watercolor around the
And,
edges there?
I like
so,
the way those two marry together.
Yeah.
And particularly in the winter when there's not a lot of activity out there, there's always activity. These hawks love the cold weather. The eagles love the cold weather. Some of these other birds are starting to come into our area now and will not be here for long. They're going north.
Yeah.
And
I like that right there.
One I kind of enjoyed doing.
Yeah. So that's a mixture of
Mixture
watercolor
of the
and pen
two.
and ink. So what about this one here?
That's pure watercolor.
That's pure watercolor. This bald eagle here. That's yeah.
I use my photography sometimes to refer to. For example, I took that picture as that eagle flew off the top of a dead branch, and I referred to that. I don't want to copy the photograph. It doesn't have to be the same. You can make it any way you want to. But I do want to get the anatomy correct.
That's right.
And the photography helps me do that.
Yeah. That's another good tip there, using a photograph to.
Yeah, don't rule that out. They marry together very well.
All right, so here's another one right here.
The Pathonotary warbler, bird's about that tall. If you're familiar with the Cypress Cove Boardwalk on the refuge, about now, maybe a week or two
Mid-March,
from
yeah.
now, they'll be in there in very large numbers.
Okay.
The female is a little more of a duller lemon color, but basically they're colored the same. Beautiful little bird. They'll be here for about a week or two, and then they'll start to drift up to the Great Lakes area. They'll return to Guatemala, South Mexico for the winter. Probably one of the most colorful birds we have.
Did you take a picture and then?
I
use the
drew
picture
that
to-
one from just sitting there.
Yes.
They'll light, and that's probably a combination of 5 or 6 different individuals that I can combine.
Okay.
And it might not be a bad idea if you're interested in birds to get a bird book. There are a lot of apps that can be downloaded, and just like the deer, where do we expect them to be during the season? Are they migrating through? Are they going to be here for year round, or and what's the anatomy of the bird itself?
That's right.
So more of that information you get, the more tools you have to produce a good drawing.
That's right. So here's a watercolor. So,
Yeah, that's the little house wren. He's with us year round.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite little birds. I had a hat on a shelf by my back door a few years ago, and that bird made a nest in it. So I just left it alone until they moved on.
Yeah.
They're very numerous, very common, very fun bird to watch.
Yeah. So so we have the kayak sport fishing,
Mm-hmm.
some curriculum and clubs across the state there. We're kicking off and all. But talk about, I know you've done a lot with kayaks and canoes, I guess, as far as
yes.
taking pictures out of canoes. What kind of tips as far as aquatic type animals? So you mentioned alligator earlier, or what other?
I'm not going to take an expensive camera in a canoe. I've never flipped a canoe. I flipped a kayak several times. One of the things that was most fun for me a few years ago, there was a large flight of storks coming through the refuge. And I was able to get out of those cypress trees in the back part of Bluff Lake and really get up on those guys. And that's where these little digital pocket cameras, and again, the cell phone, would come in real handy. I've not done a lot of photographing from kayaks. It's kind of been a hobby. I'm getting too old for it. I getting in and out of kayak. It's almost 80 something beyond my doing now.
Yeah.
But it would marry again real well. You might be a kayak outing and bring some cameras along. You never know.
I know when we've been out with our kayaking and canoe club, and you can glide right up on
Yes.
lots of birds, you know, cranes and different things around the edges, and geese and different, migratory birds. I mean, they'll sit right there and you get right there close to them. Even deer. I remember one outing we went, we glided right up. A lot of times you can't get really close to a deer. You can't just walk up to them. They leave pretty quick. But we paddled right up, and we got within 20 yards or so of them. And they stood there, and then they finally just kind of walked off. They really, I guess, they were more interested in us than we.
Well, when you say wildlife, wildflowers,
Butterflies,
wild animals.
Yeah, it's kind of what we're geared.
Okay. One of the things I've had a good time with kayaking, we've got several varieties of water lilies that bloom down at the refuge. Not just the refuge, but you're not going to get up on that from the bank.
Well, we have some other. This is a contest I kind of started here, but they have other photography contests that they could flowers and different things, I guess. So
I love to photograph snakes. That sounds strange. But I've got almost a jump drive filled with a couple hundred shots to different snakes.
Yeah, well, that would fall under my deal.
That would fall under yours.
Exactly, yes.
Now, be careful. We've got some snakes around here you don't want to get too familiar with. But
get too close to.
For example, a speckled king snake, the gray rat snake, very common but very colorful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful animal. So don't rule that out.
Yeah.
Turtles.
Yeah. See, that was one last year. I think it was in the top.
Got one on the brochure there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see, they got down to eye level, and this is on the on our flyer here I have. But a turtle. I think it was a young lady that did this one. Got down right on the eye level with that turtle there, and got a really good picture.
That's where the long lens comes in. I've been known to get down on my belly and be at the same level as a rattlesnake. And that lens, I'm still 30 feet away from that snake, so it's not a threat. Now, don't stay away from those things.
Yeah, that's right. So, all right. Any other tips you can think of as far as getting close to wildlife, or
have fun? Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. I still just every now and then pull photographs out and just enjoy going through them.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go through and what seems like a real good photograph 5 years ago, I don't consider too good these days, or raise the bar a little bit. So I've been known to throw some away.
Yeah.
Don't do it. If you enjoy it, if you like it, there's nothing that can be more fun.
You can make a career out of it. Like you said earlier, you sold them there for a few years.
Did.
I know some photographers that they have their pictures on duck stamps and those kind of things, or on their hunting license. I guess they do. They usually pick a photo every year to put on the hunting license and different things, So I'll say make a living. I guess some probably could. I guess if you were good enough and big enough, I guess. But
yeah. I used to go to a lot of art shows, and sometimes I'd take my photography, most of my drawings. And through the years, I made quite a few friends, and I know several folks in the Natchez, Jackson area that are making a very good living at this.
Yeah.
It sounds like it wouldn't be hard work. It is, but hey, anything worthwhile is that way.
And it's their passion. They wouldn't be doing it.
They wouldn't be doing it.
It's good, if they can make a little extra here and there and whatever off of their passion. I mean, I can tell you on the hunting end, it's a lot of money goes out. There's not a lot coming back in.
That's right.
But it's my passion.
Well,
and
it's been an avid hobby of mine for a long, long time. That's all it is now, is a hobby.
Yeah.
And I'm not as able to get out in the woods as I used to be, and so I'm kind of limited. But you don't have to get back there in the middle of nowhere. It's amazing what you get on the side of a road or in the backyard or in a park.
Need to be opportunistic. Have that, which everybody nowadays has a phone with them in their pocket right there close. And I say if you do have a digital camera, it's you to keep it kind of with you, you know, when you're out and about, and especially if you're going outdoors hiking or camping, kayaking or whatever. Say you're in a canoe or something, I definitely would have it somewhat waterproof, but kind of have something handy, and just in case that opportunity arises, you know, you say, hey, that'd make a good picture, and you'd kind of be right there to get it, you know. So.
Well, I think it's fun the way these things blend together. You know, I may enjoy hiking, take the camera, kayaking, take the camera.
Yeah.
Opportunities are going to present themselves, and just have fun. Just have fun.
That's what it's all about, getting outdoors and enjoying nature. And that's, I know a lot of people nowadays, they don't know. They stay inside a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, it's more than anything watching TV or on a computer or cell phone or whatever. But just get outside and enjoy nature, and that's I promise you, it'll do your health very well.
Oh,
I say
absolutely.
it does me.
Absolutely.
So. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Ben.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having me. This
Yes,
was
sir.
fun.
Thank you.